Welcome. In front of me is a Huawei Nova 11, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So anyway, let's just get straight into it. Okay, so that's all we get in the box. So let's quickly go into the device. So starting off, the display right here, which you can see, is a 6.7-inch display, 1080 or 1084, kind of like an odd number, but anyway, with 1084 by 2412 pixels display. So it's basically Full HD display. Now, it is also an OLED display, so it will have pretty nice black colors. It's HDR10 certified and has 120 Hz refresh rate, 91.4% screen to body ratio with 391 pixels per inch. So the display right here is actually pretty decent. And one thing that I will point out, the bezels, I really like the fact that they're symmetrical all around. So we have the same amount of bezels basically all around, which is pretty nice. Now, moving on, we can flip it over to the back and we have our dual camera setup. Don't be fooled by the crap that they're trying to pull off with this little thing. That's not a camera. That's just, well, I don't even know what that is, to be completely honest, but it is something. Something that doesn't add any quality or usability. So the main sensor right here is a 50 megapixel wide sensor. Then we got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and with those we can shoot at 4K, 1080p or 720p. And at the front we have a whopping 60 megapixel ultra wide. Now it looks like these phones have been designed for like just selfie video shooting with the ultra wide, I would presume, because number one, they are really high, 60 megapixels for a selfie. That's on this phone higher than the main camera, which kind of like begs the question of why. And also has a pretty decent recording at 4K 30 frames with the selfie, which is usually not the case. So it leads me to believe that this is primarily for like TikTok and other stuff, and not really for me, to be completely honest. But I will be still judging this device based on what it offers to the majority of the people, not selected group, basically. So, let's move over to next part. So that will be the internals. And number one is the battery. Here we have a 4500 mAh battery with a 66 watt charger, which will get our device to 100% in 31 minutes, which is really good. Now, that's where the good part kind of ends and the absolute shit show starts to begin. So, this is a device that costs roughly $400 US, pretty expensive, for Snapdragon 778G, which is a 4G processor. Are you kidding me? It's an old processor that doesn't even support 5G for $400. So, a little bit of an L right here, actually a big one, if I have to be honest. So that's the first kind of downside. The device costs a decent amount while basically giving you outdated processor with no 5G connectivity, which you should expect that from Huawei. I don't think they can give you any 5G connectivity because they decided to be bad and they got spanked so hard that they almost ceased to exist. So, with that being said, we have a little bit of an outdated processor with no good connectivities, at least no like leading connectivities, I would argue. And moving down the line, we have in here 8 GB of RAM and 128 GB of built-in storage, going all the way up to 512 GB of storage. Now, I don't think we can expand it any further. Let me just quickly try to find my little SIM eject hole. There we go. So this is SIM, and on the other side we got absolutely nothing written, so I assume that's also SIM. The reason I'm checking it is because it's Huawei and they do have their own proprietary storage called nano memory, which is the same size as a SIM card, which they sometimes include, but it seems like they include it primarily in more premium devices like flagships and not in mid-range ones like these ones, so you can't expand it any further. So if you need more than 128 GB of storage, you'll need to just fork out more money right away. So that's basically most of the specs of this device. We also have a fingerprint sensor under the display. We don't have a headphone jack, as you can possibly see. We have microphones, and we don't have infrared, which is kind of odd. Usually we would. We have our volume rockers, power button, speaker grills, charging port, SIM tray, and nothing here. And that's about it. That is as bare bones as it can get for 400 bucks, to be honest. So just to kind of go quickly into the pros and cons of this device. The pros will be the display. That's basically the primary thing in here. It's a very good display, 120 Hz OLED display. So I have no problem here. It's a nice display, very small bezels all around as well, which adds to this kind of nice feel to the device or look. And the selfie camera, which is 16 megapixel ultra wide, which will obviously perform pretty well. And that's where the good things end. Now where the bad things begin are the start of the processor. It's just garbage, considering this device was released in 2023 for $400. Lack of Google Play services of any sorts. Google Maps, forget about that one. Gmail, yeah, no. Play Store, also no. Anything that you probably came to rely on your Android device, gone here. And it's substituted by the app gallery. Now that would have been fine if this device was like $250 to $300, not $400. Even $300, honestly, I wouldn't want that device because of the lack of Play services. But that's my personal opinion right here. But obviously, if you rely on Play services a lot, maybe you bought a bunch of applications that you don't want to buy again, then obviously one could argue that already a decently priced device, which will then force you to buy the apps all over again, is kind of not worth it, and that would be very understandable. So therefore, my opinion is to not get this device because it's overpriced for what it offers. And just to kind of give you a better alternative, maybe not better for the Selfie 16 megapixel ultra wide because it's just kind of bonkers, but in general the device that will be better in everything else apart from that 60 megapixel ultra wide selfie, that would be the Xiaomi 12. Now I'm not affiliated with them, I just believe that this device is pretty good for the money. It is, I believe, cheaper than this while offering more than this. So just to quickly run down the specs, at minimum the Xiaomi will have 8 GB of RAM going up to 12 gigs. It comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which isn't necessarily the newest, but that device was released in 2021. It's already a couple of years old compared to this one, while still costing less and offering more. So you can see where I'm going here. The display at 6.2 inches, 1080p resolution, so basically the same. It gets brighter though. It has better certification for HDR, same refresh rate, it's an AMOLED display. It has 89.2% screen to body ratio with higher pixel density, corner Gorilla Glass. At the launch in 2021, it came with Android 12, but obviously right now Pixels are at Android 14, rest of the Androids at 13, which presumably that could also get to Android 13. Cameras 50, 13, 5 at the back, and then at the front 32 megapixel wide. In terms of battery, same, 4,500. Charging speed, I believe it's also the same. Nope, the charger is 67 watts, though it takes apparently a little bit longer to charge it at 100% in 39 minutes instead of the, I think it was 30 that this was advertised. Let me quickly check. Where was it? 31. So a couple more minutes and basically both phones are fully charged. And that will cost you $379 instead of the $400. While being faster, getting 5G, having arguably, I would consider probably better display because it's brighter and has more colors. And that's primarily what most people will care for. Also, the storage types right here are a little bit more vast, going, or at least not the storages, but the RAM options. So you go from 8 to 12 gigs of RAM. And I'm not exactly sure, but it could have been that you could expand the storage in there. So I think I'm incorrect about that one. But the storage itself was UFS 3.1, which also was one of the better ones. So again, you get gains almost everywhere. Here you get good display, good selfie cam, and the hassle that you need to deal with app gallery and probably cloning your apps from an old device. Fantastic. So that being said, hopefully you can see or gather that this device might not be the best option, and hopefully I kind of explained this in a well enough manner so you can actually, you know, see the benefits, the drawdowns of either one of those devices. And if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.